Okay, motherfucker. Get fucked. That's what you said, man. Okay, let's get fucking into this. I've been called out. I've been called the fuck out for being a bloomer. And like this all comes back to this thing, right? About like how me and Digi have had different views on people. And as for a long time now, one of his most dedicated fans, I've always found it interesting to express this idea of the difference between us. So I got a little bit sad when during this rant from Digi I started realizing that he had done what he thinks so many other people do, which is misunderstand. And having been misunderstood, I felt the need to explain myself. And I'm gonna do it like I like doing, which is making content out of my communication. Digi called me out like this, and I'm gonna call him out like this. And also, I don't wanna do like the short mimetic answer, because like last time we had this discussion, clearly that didn't work because I tried to summarize my points into something that would fit on a page, which a lot of people still consider a long post, but I'm not a lot of people. So that didn't work out because I got misunderstood. So I think that to tackle this, I need to talk about me. I need to talk a little about who I am, what I've been through, and that's gonna take a while. It's gonna be an episode. But I hope it's worth it. If not, perhaps for Digi, I don't expect him to sit through this. Because while Digi has shown he can sometimes listen to me talk about him, I don't know if he's gonna listen to me talking about me. Even if it's for the purpose of clearing my name from something that he said. And it's not like I can just let this slide. Like, come on, I'm a fucking nobody. And I've been called out by a huge dude on the internet. It's just, I gotta put my story out there, man. Because I kind of sound like a bit of a piece of shit in your rant, and I don't really like that. And I think there's more to the story, so I'm gonna talk about me. Because I feel like there's a disadvantage that Digi has calling me out compared to me being able to listen to him. And it's the fact that I've spent how many fucking hours of Digi ranting I've listened to? It's up in the multiples of hundreds of hours of Digibois podcasts I've listened to. So, I mean, the entire pub crawl, everything in his Let's Play content that does not include Victor, a lot of what does include Victor, the entire After Dark backlog, every PCP up until episode like 90, where I quit. Not for being tired of Digi, but for being tired of a lot of the other people on that podcast. I've heard Digi's childhood stories, his personal stories, the tales of him growing up over and over and over and over again. And I know at this point which ones fit in on me and which ones don't. Where we have similarities and where we have differences. And so I am able to analyze our personalities' differences from a lot more perspectives than I think Digi can when talking about this topic. Because it's not just going to be about literally him and me. I want to tackle the whole bloomer-doomer duality that he painted up. Because similarly to Digi, I like talking about dualities. And this topic really hits me as well, because I've recently been on a bit of a tirade about this myself. Similarly as Digi has this half year been on a big tear about this misanthropy. I can't speak English. Misanthropy, whatever. I've been on a bit of a tirade of the opposite. And I've had a lot of fun comparing my thoughts to Digi's thoughts. Because I think it's a good exercise in opinion control. To listen to someone who goes against your own ideas. Like I listen to Dick Masterson, but I'm a Swedish model leftist. I listen to Digibois despite loving people. Because I enjoy people who are radically different from me, but are still similar in so many ways that I can always understand where they're coming from. It's a method of self-control. So, I'm gonna talk about it. Who am I? I am Whatta. My name's Joel Heiste. I grew up in 2 countries, the Netherlands and Sweden. And as a kid, I very early was an outsider. I know, like these are stories about me from when I was a kid. I would run up to older kids and headbutt them from behind because I felt like they were suppressing me. And I would rally against the system that dictated that the older kids would be in charge. I was like 3 at the time, and they were like 5. Yeah, kindergarten shit. I would never play with other kids, even at that age. I would always do my own game. Fuck their game, you know? And this developed, and I moved to the Netherlands when I was 4. And in the Netherlands, I made 2 friends. Okay, this is super stupid. My childhood girlfriend and a guy called Menno. And Menno and me, we liked Metabots. Metabots was the shit. We also like Pokemon. I like Pokemon, and then I also like Metabots, and then he was all about Metabots and football. I didn't like football. That's European football, you know, the real football. And it was very clear that our connection was through this hobby, not so much through us as people. Whereas with Like, I could always, as the girl, I could always understand her more as people. Like, me and Like had no common interest, but we absolutely adored each other because we fought in the same pattern. We had the same minds. And that was always great. But then I don't have any other connections from the Netherlands. Like, almost 0. I have my grandma, but that's like family connections, right? So we moved back to Sweden when I was 7. I never talked to Like and Menno again. Because, you know, as kids, you can't really keep touch. So I came to Sweden, and I was placed in a class with the older kids. They were 1 year older than me. I'm born 96, I'm currently 22, and they were born 95. And it was instantly clear that school-wise, I was getting by just fine. Everything was going absolutely hunky-dory. But outside of school, nothing was going that well. I was acing math, Swedish, writing, anything that wasn't gym class, for the level of kids a year older than me, but I had no friends. And not only did I have no friends, I was controversial. Because when I spoke my mind on things, a lot of people didn't think like me, and I didn't back down. I kept pushing my point. I would prove them wrong. And they didn't like this, so they started not liking me. So I was held back a year. I retook 1st grade and landed with kids my own age. Because my teacher said, let's give him another year to make friends. Which gave me a year to... I was 7. I'm not gonna pretend I'm super aware of all this at the time. But looking back, analyzing, it gave me a year where I had no pressure to learn anything, and I could just focus on learning how to make friends. And I completely failed and butchered it all. I made 2 friends, and I was the biggest third wheel there ever was with those 2 friends. They were best friends, and they were both like kind of friends with me. And I thought I was best friends with one of them, and I wasn't. But I was convinced at the time that we were the bestest, me and Michael. But no. And then that just kind of kept going on for a while, and we moved again. I moved a lot as a kid, same as Digi. Similar experiences, man. We moved to Västerås, which is a big city. Okay, it's 140,000 people. By my standards, that's a big city. I still live in this city today. I love Västerås. I think it's a great city. I have no pressure to move. I agree that some places are just better if you stay in them. So I decided to stay in this place. Oh, okay, my mom decided. I decided that now. I'm getting ahead of myself. I was in this school, and I sort of went to a school in Västerås that was sort of in, I guess you could call it like a hood. We don't really have hoods in Sweden, but like it's a similar kind of thing, right? You had a lot of kids from ethnically diverse families hanging out here. A lot of Muslims, a lot of people from Somalia, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Syria, Turkey, very diverse. Whereas the school I'd come to initially in Sweden was in a very tiny town and was very white in comparison. It was very much familiar. So we moved into the bigger city. This is again similar to Digi, right? Because he went to that all-black school in high school, right? In a middle school, right? But I was in 3rd grade at the time when we moved here. So I was 10. 9 or 10, something like that, when we moved to Västerås. And in this class, the same thing started happening as before. I made no friends, and I actively became controversial. Because there were really no other nerds. Like, there were kids who had nerdy interests who tolerated me, but they weren't really like me in any way. And I was really into 2 things at the time. I was into Pokemon and I was into Transformers. And look at me, what a nerd. I defined my eras as 2 things I'm into. But like Pokemon was still like my main thing, you know? This was around the time that I had just been like all about Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, and the year after this, Diamond and Pearl were coming out. And I would just talk about Pokemon, and I knew so much about those games, because in my first school, the thing that like me and those 2 friends I was third wheeling, the thing that I had for them was that I knew everything about Pokemon, and everyone was into Pokemon, and I knew fucking everything. That was my status symbol. That's what I could do. And coming to Västerås, that was not the case. Because here Pokemon was lame. And especially when we moved to 4th grade, it was really lame. Similar experiences again. This is why I connect to Digi so much, man. He's described this Pokemon thing as well, like how Pokemon stopped being cool and then he started being hated. Same thing for me. My bullying got really bad. I was physically abused quite a bit. There's a case of physical, what's it called? Misshandel in Swedish. It's just, you know, I was beaten up really bad and the police got involved. That happened one time really extremely, several times to a more the school deals with it kind of situation. I was really getting the heat of the class. Now, I think that this can have one of 2 effects on people. I think that when you're the outsider and you're hated, maybe even beat up, when everything you touch is yucky and no one else can touch it, when everything you say is wrong, when you're being bullied, you have a few paths to take. And my path was one of self-respect. All I did was convince myself that I had value and I was not going to back down without being properly convinced. And I would take the high road. I would always argue my points. And I would call people out when they were not arguing with me respectfully. When they were resorting to manipulating the audience, or they were resorting to manipulative strategies against me as a person. I would always call out them on those things, and I would argue my points by taking the high ground. I would always try to be as honorable as possible in how I presented my ideas. That's my source of self-respect, is knowing that I can do that. I don't claim to be a great person, but that is, damn it, the one thing I'm really fucking good at. So what happened was that, of course, I landed in a situation where someone said I was bad, and I walked up to them and I gave them a list of 5 points on why they're wrong. And then I expected an answer, and instead I got punched in the fucking face. And we repeated over and over again. But I don't know, I grew from that shit. And I became the kind of person who gets invigorated by disagreement. By the idea that I'm the outsider. It just sparks something in me, you know? And it doesn't mean that I'll change my opinion to be contrarian like an econ. I don't like doing that. I say what I actually believe. But I definitely search myself to the situations where people don't agree with me. Because it gets my blood pumping, you know? Similarly but very differently to how Digi described himself fighting with his mom. Because they both enjoy the sport of it. But whereas Digi goes and says that the truth doesn't matter, and that it's actually about finding a way to get the win. I've never been about the win. I've been about the art of the argument. Because for me, an argument is a hunt for truth, right? It's a hunt for, I say A and you say B, and through arguing and through logic, we figure out how much of A is true, how much of B is true, and how can we combine it. Sometimes A is entirely true, sometimes B is entirely true, and a lot of the times the answer is somewhere in between. Or the answer is C, something we never thought of. And by arguing, we can get to that. That's always been what's fun about arguing, for me. It's that hunt for truth. The sport of it. So I'm also into the sport, but I'm not into the win, if you get the difference. That's why I want to have this conversation, right? I want to talk to Digi and to everyone who was interested in me because of Digi and try to figure out this whole bloomer doomer thing. So that's how I reacted to the bullying, right? But I still had no friends. I had one friend, his name was Adam. He walked up to me one day in 4th grade and was like, "Hey, I bought Pokemon Diamond. I heard you were really good at this. Please help me. I don't know what Pokemon to catch." And I played games with him for 3 years after that. I don't think me and Adam were ever that close though. Evidently, because when we separated to different schools, by that time we were 13, we could definitely have kept in touch and we didn't. So I don't think it was that valuable. We were very different people. He just happened to like Pokemon. He was always hiding it, and I was always like, "Come on, talk about it," and he just didn't want to. And then I stopped pressuring. But I don't know, it's just this pride I have in being true to myself and being honest. So I'm gonna go back to my disposition here. When me and Digi talk about how we see people and how we see groupthink, I feel like we do it in 2 different ways. Digi sees himself on one scale, and he sees a bunch of people saying the same thing on the other scale, and he sees that scale popping the fuck down to the other people's side. And by all presenting their opinion against him, they're oppressing him and suppressing him. They are subjecting him to their groupthink. When I see the situation, I see me on one scale, and I see the other people on the other scale. And then I see the arguments on both scales. And whichever argument I feel weighs the heaviest, I feel goes the fuck down. It doesn't matter how many people are there, it's all about the argument. And so let's take that situation with the food. Shake and steak. Whatever the fuck that is. Swedish, I don't fucking know your American places. If I'm with a group, and I don't want to go to no fucking shake and steak. Because I hate shaking. I don't know why. And they all want to go to shake and steak. And hell no, I don't want to go to shake and steak. I'll fucking say that. I'll make a big fucking deal about it. I ain't gonna just accept them, but I also won't I won't try to oppress their opinion. I mean, if they want to argue for shake and steak, then fucking argue it. I'll argue against it. And if their argument is, well, a lot of people want to go there, and you're only one person, then my argument is, well, I'm not important to this group. Don't you care about my company and my pleasure here? I'm a part of this. Let's find a solution that can benefit everyone. Now that's an argument that leads the conversation forward. Because most of the time we'll find a third option. And we'll go there. They don't want to go to my place? Probably McDonald's. I don't want to go to their place? Shake and steak? We end up going to the third place. Fucking Subway. We're all fine with it. Whatever. I don't know. And that's how it's always been for me. So I also want to talk about this Munchie thing. Because not you calling him out, I don't fucking care. I'm just gonna assume that the way you describe Munchie is true, even though the way you describe me was misunderstood. And I know I still haven't gotten to why exactly everything about me is misunderstood. I'll get to more about this. I still haven't gotten to alcohol. God damn it, I'll get there later. Look, I want to take this a piece at a time. With the Munchie thing, you described the situation where him, Ben, and Kaze all wanted one thing, and you wanted a different thing, and you felt like you were oppressed by them all wanting the same thing. And you felt like all the jokes were on your behalf, and that wasn't fun for you. Well, all the jokes were on you, and you didn't think that was fun. I'm the kind of person who's always thrived in those situations. Because, for some reason, I just explain the reasons. There's something about the way that I just kind of clicked with my bullying, where this happened, where I developed the ability to just talk back. And being the butt of all jokes is like the most comfortable place I know in my life. Like in my friendship circles, I won't get to those, I am the butt of every single fucking joke there ever was. It's all about the fucking Whatta wall, and the Whatta does this, and Whatta's like that, and haha, look at Whatta. And I'll join in sometimes, and then sometimes I'll defend myself if I think that it's incorrect, you know? If I feel like it's in good spirit. And if I feel like it's in bad spirit, I'll challenge it. I don't know, I feel like there's value in that. Because at the end of the day, I think that what's interesting in this world is the people in it. Because if it's not the people, the places aren't interesting, things aren't interesting. I don't think the food's interesting, or the art is that interesting. I'm in it for the ideas, man. I'm in it for the thoughts. And the thoughts. That's stupid. I'm in it for people thinking things and putting together logic, and that really gets my gears going, you know? So I have to adjust myself to people. I have to make it so that I fit in, even though I don't. And my way of forcing myself to fit in without changing anything about myself is to argue and present myself exactly as I want to and represent exactly who I am until people have to either accept me or concede to me. Either they accept who I am and they learn how to coexist with it, or they concede to how I am and accept it as being correct. Or they change my mind. That can also happen. That's the third one. They can change my mind and then I change because I was wrong. And if I expect them to sometimes concede to me, then of course I expect myself to sometimes concede to them. Because opinions are not identity. At the end of the day, they're things in a bucket, as CGP Grey said. So more similarities and differences. In upbringing, I like the idea of our families being a bit different. Digi has this family where like, I don't quite know how to describe it better than he did, but you can just listen to him talk about it. And my family was different because it's like, it's me, my half-dad, my siblings, and my mom. That's the whole family. And my half-dad is like a quiet, nobody kind of person. He sometimes has opinions, but like, he's the kind of guy who sits still for a year and then he like explodes one day and then he's like still for another year. And my sisters are all several years younger than me, like many years younger than me. I have 9 years to one sister, 11 to the other, 20 to another, and 21 to a fourth. So there's a lot of years. So my mom is really my family. And my mom is not comfortable with being disagreed with. So me and my mom have exploded on each other continuously for the better parts of our lives. Which ended up with me getting kicked out when I was 19. And spending a solid month homeless before I found my apartment. And this is also like, I don't know, like I think that this goes to show the length I'll go to in these situations to argue my side and force myself into a situation. Because really, I feel like it's all I can do, right? And I argue with my mom to the point where we had several nights where we're both sitting crying. We've had several nights where we freaked out. She's thrown yogurt all over our kitchen in a rage fit against me. I punched my own face bloody to prove a point to her one time. I had a black eye for half a year because of this bullshit argument that I was proving a point. It's just a reason, and I need an example, you know? And the arguing got really bad, as shown by these examples. I left the house in rage fits several times, and then she finally kicked me out. And I just I'm not saying that like, oh, you have to be this kind of person. I'm just trying to explain why I'm this kind of person, where I come from, and show to what degree I'm this kind of person, where I never fucking let things slide. It's not that I never back down, I just never, you know, concede without fighting. This all comes back to the idea of self-respect that I was talking about. Because at the end of the day, I have to respect myself. Because no one else will. Not unless I do first. So, if I respect myself, I always have to go into every situation with the idea, what is the most respectful thing to do to Joel in this situation? What can I do to make sure that Joel is treated like a upstanding, intelligent human being? And a lot of times it's defending myself. And a lot of times it's proving a point, or going to extremes, or making a scene, and being annoying, forcing myself into a situation. This got really rambly really fast, and I feel like I repeated myself several times. I'm not a fucking vlog talker. I'm a guy, I'm a teacher, okay? I usually have a whiteboard for this shit, so I can look back on the whiteboard as I make notes over a thing I'm talking about, and I can like see what I've covered, and I can draw like lines and connections. God, I should have made a fucking PowerPoint for this and prepared it all like a lecture. But I wanted to respond in the medium Digi called me out in, god damn it. I thought that would be fun. Probably gonna fucking, yeah. I wanted to do this like he did it, you know? If only I had a cute girlfriend to talk to over this. No. I'll fucking keep going. Groups. We talked about group things. Fuck your clique, fuck your community. I don't agree. Cliques and communities are really good. Are really interesting. And a key difference between me and Digibois is that I've figured out how to lead them. And Digibois has not. As I kept going in my life, when the bullying ended, and I went to middle school, where it was me and like, basically me and a guy like Don-san, you know? Like a guy who's way further gone. We were the 2 boys in the class, and the rest were like 12 really normie girls. And that was the class, so I didn't really fit in there either, as you can imagine. And I had a lot of fights, a lot of big fights. Over stupid things that I've since stopped agreeing with. But at the time, you know, self-respect. Stand up for yourself. And then I went to, well, Swedish version of high school called Gymnasieschool. And things got a lot better because the school I went to was really professional and every student kind of treated it like a job. And we just came, did our work, and went home. And it wasn't a lot of stuff outside of that. But during these 2 parts of my life, I sort of figured out the idea that I wanted to be part of a group. But I knew that I could never incorporate myself in someone else's group. As Digi said, he can't do. Like, there's no point in going to someone else's group, right? So I needed to create the group. I needed to be the guy who the group was attracted to. I needed to be the big magnet. And I did this a few times through my years. I started collecting these friends, you know? And like Digi, I became the guy who everyone went home to, like the center of a group. But I did so by leading the group. There's always been this, I've always had this air about me where I come into a place and people, if I'm not being controversial with them, if they initially kind of like me, a lot of people start respecting me a lot. And I think it's because I respect myself so much that it kind of inspires them to it. So that led to leadership. So in these groups, like let's take my fucking anime club as an example. It was this group of 4 guys, and I was friends with all of them. And so I kind of, they were watching anime, they just started. I started watching anime with them. And then I sort of took over the group in a lot of ways. So this is the group culture. And for a long time, I changed that group to be a lot more like I wanted it to be. And I argued for every single change of how we organized it, how we ran it, how we structured it. And everyone was really on board. And then I left. And it's back to exactly how it was before I joined. But I changed my situation in the group to fit me. I changed the group to be like I wanted it to. I changed the culture of the group. And a big part of the culture that I want in a group is to not have groupthink. Because I can't do that shit. I can't be a part of a groupthink. I'm like literally incapable of it. I don't understand how it fucking works, dude. I just think things and then I argue. And sometimes my goal is always to end up with the same opinion as the guy I'm arguing with. But I rarely start out there, and I rarely form my opinion around the idea of being around, you know, thinking the same things as other people. And if I end up agreeing with someone from the start, I don't see a lot of point in talking to them about it. Like, let's say I meet a guy who likes Pokemon, like my friend Johannes. And I'm like, dude, I like Pokemon. He's like, yeah, I love Pokemon. And then we play some Pokemon, and then we don't really talk about Pokemon. Because there's nothing to argue about. But then like a friend with David, it's like, oh, I like Pokemon, I like this Pokemon. And he's like, oh, but I like this Pokemon, we can argue. You know? So I'll talk to him about Pokemon, because he has opinions about it. I find the points that are interesting, right? I find the discussion. So I formed these groups. I formed several groups. So the anime group is one of them. I ran that for about 2.5 years. Almost 3 years actually. Another one recently is Ohio Nation, which I've talked about. A group where fucking, like, everyone agrees on the culture of the group. Everyone knows that this is a place where we'll respect each other. And where everyone is treated like a reasonable human person. But other than that, we don't fucking agree on anything. We have hardcore socialists. We have, like, Jordan Peterson traditionalists. We have, like, that's just the political plane. We have people who love One Piece. We have people who despise One Piece. We have all fucking swaths of life in there, and I love it. It's great. There is absolutely zero fucking groupthink in that fucking group. There's like, we go 2 against 2, we go 3 against 3, we go Whatta against the server, we go fucking everything. We have the ketchup argument forever. That's the kind of group I run, right? Because that's the kind of culture I set. But one thing that's very obvious in that group is that I'm a leader in it. And I mean, I started it, but I think a lot of people start groups and they don't end up leading them. But I do. And I don't do anything with leadership. It's not like I say, go here and we do this. Like, I came across this term called, what is it exactly? It's primus inter pares, huh? Yeah, primus inter pares. It means first among equals. And I always try to pressure, like, that I'm just one of the group, I'm just a guy, and I have my opinions, you have yours, and we argue it, right? But what I do is that I set culture, and I lead with inspiration. So I get people to care about the group and about the things we do in the group. And by doing that, I can lead the group towards the kind of culture I want, without ever repressing the opinions in it. And I really enjoy doing that. So, then we get to the big one, right? Okay, so I'm about, like, I'm 37 minutes into this vlog, let's fucking talk about alcohol, right? Because you wanted to talk about alcohol. We've talked about who I am, all this shit. So with alcohol's my Nintendo. That statement was aimed directly at Digi. I hope he fucking gets that. I didn't initially see the point of drinking because old drunk people are fucking obnoxious. God, I hate drunk people. I hate drunk people like Digi hates all people, man. Drunk people are the worst when it comes to being around them. Because drunk people are not predictable. So I have autism, right? And probably Digi does too. But I'm like, I don't know, I'm like a diagnosed kind of person. And I've learned a lot of my social interactions through trial and error and through, like, study. So when people get drunk, I get real fucking creeped out. Like, it's the worst. I cannot be around them. They become fucking... Like, I can listen to Digi rant drunk and often not notice a difference. Although, like, I can notice some things, but, like, he's very much the same in a video. But I swear if I was around him, I could tell. Because, like, there's just, like, there's a way people... They get this air about them that is, like, really uncomfortable and unpredictable and scary. So that's how it all started. That was just my initial thoughts. That's not even how it's not the reason why I still hold these opinions. But it's how I got started with sobriety. And I formed a group. Because in my city, I've been going to this LARP for a long time, which is live action roleplay. We went into the forest, we played improvisational theater for ourselves, for our own entertainment. It was a summer thing, a bunch of nerds from Västerås all got together in the summer, did this for a few weeks as like our summer camp kind of thing. It was great. And these kids, we were all getting too old and we're not allowed to go to the event anymore because we were all turning 17. It was around the middle of high school years. A lot of us turning 17, a lot of us were young but wanted to hang out all around the year, not just in the summer. And I was starting to get really into sobriety, and I was getting involved with the sobriety movement, like a political sobriety activity. And I formed a club called Västerås Fire Souls, which was a sobriety club. It was basically just we had a locale in the middle of the city. We had a bunch of snacks, video games, things to do while hanging out, a schedule. I opened the place. It was just a club. We just hang out. And the only rule was, if you're in this club, you do not drink at any point in your life while you're in this club. If you want to drink, you leave the club. That was the rule. Because we ran this as part of the sobriety movement, right? And the sobriety movement sees it as this political action where we are creating sober alternatives to pop culture. Because sobriety is about outsider status to society. It's about not bowing down to normalizations in a lot of ways. That's where I got stuck on sobriety, where I really liked it. Because like when Digi drinks, he drinks because he can't stand normal people. And I don't drink because I can't stand normal people. So this is why I had to go on this whole tyrant of why we're different. And how our attitudes towards groups and being the one to stand out are different. Because when I'm alone and I stand out, I need to be sharp. Because I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna force myself into a situation using my power of way too much self-respect. Whereas Digi is going to hate the situation, hate the people who put him in the situation, not want to force himself into it, and instead want to make it go by as painlessly as possible. And he'll do this by drinking. But that's not the kind of drinking that I always had a problem with. I always had a problem with the kind of drinking which was about normal culture. That you drink for the purpose of gaining access to social engagement. A lot of advertisements are focused around this, right? You have the advertisement for Heineken in Carlsberg and all this shit in Sweden, where it's always like, join the party, be part of the group, you know, drink alcohol. That's the whole, and they don't say literally that, but that's like the point of alcohol advertisement is be a part of this thing, be a part of this alcohol. Alcohol will make you a part of society because society drinks. And I rejected that shit. Because my stance is that I am a part of society as I already am. And where society rejects me, I will force them to acknowledge me. By proving myself with evidence and argument. And by being really fucking annoying about it. So that's the kind of alcohol that I got politically engaged in stopping. I got politically engaged in the political fight for the denormalization of alcohol. Of making alcohol an outsider thing. To make it normal to be sober. I never want... My goal was always that if I and another person were next to each other, and I said, I don't drink alcohol, and he said, I do drink alcohol, the question would be to him, well, why do you drink? Not to me, well, why don't you drink? Because the outsider is always the one that's in the position to defend themselves. And that's what I wanted to end for alcohol culture. I wanted alcohol to be the thing that had to be defended. Not for it to end, not for alcohol to not be a thing, but I wanted the idea that you need alcohol to be a part of society to end. That alcohol is an integral part of social conduct and social inclusion. That was the meme that I wanted to kill. That was the whole point of my political engagement. I say was, by the way, because in an act of seeking argument, I have been absolutely deplatformed from the entire sobriety movement as of the past year. Because I looked at one of their arguments and I said, well, this doesn't make sense. We can argue for this in a different way. And now they hate me. Because apparently I'm the one weakening their stance when they are using bad arguments to argue good points. They're agreeing with me wrong, as the meme about me goes. So I flipped off the whole sobriety movement after a while. Still agree with a lot of the idea though. I still agree that alcohol needs to be denormalized. And I do that by not drinking. Because, you know, if I believe in a thing, I am, in my opinion, I should act in a way that shows that I believe in that thing. Not drinking is part of that. It's about being true to myself, right? So, when Digi talks about needing alcohol for the purpose of sustaining himself with other people, what I feel is that the word need harkens back too much to the idea that alcohol is required for social engagement. But what Digibois uses it for is not that. He's using it for social sustainment. And he's using it in situations where other people are not drinking. He's not using it to be a part of the group. He's using it to, I guess, survive the experience of being close by the group, right? And as a result, I feel like my criticism of his word need, because this has been a semantic argument since the beginning, let's not kid ourselves. It's always been this is, for those who are unaware and not in Discord, this entire call out is a call back to me on the 26th of August, making an argument against his video on 90 Short Walk On Girl, where I disagree with his use of the word need alcohol, and I suggested he should use the word want alcohol. This is a semantic argument from August. That's what this is. And I will retract my statement that it was wrong for him to use need in that situation. Because probably he does need it for the kind of person he is to get through these social situations. Because unlike me, he doesn't have that switch, right? Where I have all my quotes from here. I said, I can just gun button force myself to success with a just do it mindset that I can get with a certain switch in my head if the pressure is strong enough. That's what I said. That's what he's replying to here. And clearly Digi doesn't have this. And the part where we were misunderstanding each other is that I misunderstood Digi's implication with the word need. Because I was seeing red, honestly. I saw a thing that was very similar to a thing I've spent years arguing against. And I saw red. And that wasn't good of me. But it's also based on a misunderstanding from Digi, where I think that if he sees what I'm actually against in alcohol, I don't think he'd have much of a problem with it. Because my fight against alcohol is a fight for norm criticism. It's a fight against normism. It's a fight for the sober version of the new type. That's what it is. And I don't think he'd have a problem with that. Lastly, last time we talked about this in August, I wrote this thing about, I compared me to Naruto and I compared Digi to Sasuke. And I feel like I was doing a short version. I was trying to make it a meme. But I'm gonna try to explain it again. Me and Digi gain power. We're both like outsider autist people with very similar backstories. We both got heavily bullied and it sucked for both of us. And it was only because we like Pokemon and normies didn't. That's what happened. And in that situation, Digi went, fuck those people, I'm not gonna be around them, and I went fuck those people, I'ma fucking prove them wrong. Every single time. Because that's what having respect to myself would imply. And with Digi, it's also based in self-respect, honestly. Because he's saying, fuck those people. In respect to myself, I'm not gonna subject myself to those people because I'm worth more than that. You see the idea here? We're not that different, me and Digi. Even when we go different paths. And this was the comparison to Naruto, right? Because Naruto seeks acknowledgement after being an outsider. He's shunned by society, and so he seeks to prove himself and prove the gifts he has. You can see the fox in his belly is autism, right? The fox in his belly is his autism, and it grants him a lot of power, but also a lot of problems. And initially, everyone's only seeing the problems. And by constantly forcing himself in their faces, he forces them to acknowledge him. And acknowledge the benefits of his autism. See the strength of the nine-tailed fox. And the hacks powers he gets because of it. I saw this big analysis piece on Naruto, the hypocrite, the self-made hypocrite, where they were criticizing this as like, Naruto's all about fighting. It's about the story of someone without privilege fighting to overcome it. Whereas actually Naruto has the most privilege, and so he's stupid because he doesn't overcome a lack of privilege. I think it's about overcoming. I just read the story different, right? I read it as Naruto is hated because he has autism, and he tries to prove to everyone that his autism has lots of strength in it, and there's lots of good things about it, even though there's a bunch of things that are bad and scary and weird about it. Now Sasuke, his autism is being in Uchiha, right? That makes him special and weird and powerful. And he's very liked in the show, but he's not liked in the way he would like to be, right? He hates the popularity he's getting, and he sees it as basically the same thing as bullying. So let's pretend Sasuke is just as bullied, because from his view, he is. Now, he sees all these people around him as they don't understand him, they don't understand his quest for vengeance, they don't understand his hatred, and so he hates them even more. And as a result, he seeks power not from acknowledgement, but from doubling down on his outsider status. He makes, both Naruto and Sasuke make their outsider status their power, but they do it through different means. Sasuke does it by increasing his outsider power by stretching it further away from people, and Naruto does it by forcing it closer to people. But they both empower it, right? They both use it, and they both get there by doing what they believe is best for their own self-respect, for the goal of getting to their own dreams. That's really the point here, right? I know I'm such a dweeb talking about fucking Naruto. I like the show, okay? I think it's a good manga. Yeah, that's pretty much it. On the alcohol topic and the being an outsider topic. So let's talk about introversion. Digi at one point goes into thing like, oh, I'm introverted, that's why I'm like this. I'm also introverted. A lot of people don't know this, especially my close friends. Well, they know it because I told them, but they wouldn't guess it. Because a lot of people see introverts as like, oh, we like being quiet, and we like reading books and sitting alone, and that's it. No, it's just about energy sustainment. That's literally all it is. It's where you get energy and where you lose energy. And I get energy from being alone, and I lose energy with other people. So clearly I'm an introvert, despite being very much an active, talkative, leadership claiming, initiative taking, strong personality. So I just want to say that to get that out of the way. So finally, I've now been talking for close to an hour. I'm gonna start this thing over again. The thing I've been listening to as my background music. Because it ended. Now, the final point I want to touch on is I'm gonna call Digi out the fuck back. That sounds so lame. So he called me out for the bloomer thing and how he can't stand me. And maybe he still can't stand me. Because I like people. I like people the most when they're at their worst. Because that's when they challenge me. And that's what I find is developing. But what I've had my gripes with Digi lately. Maybe, hey, if you got this far, maybe he responds. I don't fucking know. With this misanthropy thing, I feel like Digi has moved into a place where he's unable to enjoy a lot of things. Like, he still likes a lot of things, but I feel like I'm coming at this with such a bad angle with such bad words. Because this is just the fucking troll shit, right? This is what his fucking haters say. No, okay. When Digi talks about... I need to phrase this well. When Digi talks about concepts that he doesn't like, he phrases it in a way that feels way too general for me. And it's this thing he's been going on about how everything's the same and how the world's really small and there's no differences in what we can experience, and how a Ren fair is just the same shit as like a super mall, but they're like, they have different gimmicks, but they're all about like giving you a good experience, so you buy shit at higher prices or whatever, or lower price, I don't know, or buy more. Like that's just what it is. And I don't even feel like he's wrong, because he's not. Like, I totally get where he's coming from. It's like, it's logical to think the way he does. But I want to ask the next question, which is that in life, how do I put it? We as people have a responsibility to ourselves to create an interest in our own lives, to create a narrative to the human existence and the human condition. That's what I believe. That if we don't do that, we're letting ourselves down because we're not letting our lives be as enjoyable as they could be. I'm going to quote Jan Green, who is one of my 5 heroes in life, along with Digi, who's another one of my 5 heroes in life. Jan Green once said about football, he said, a lot of people look at football and they just see a bunch of guys kicking around a ball and say it's nothing interesting. But what makes it interesting is the fact that we care about it. We make it important by caring about it. Not... I don't fucking know the quote by heart, damn it. It's not that it is important and so we care about it. We make it important by caring about it. That's the point of this. Okay, it's not a quote, it's a paraphrase. Get over yourself. And that really inspired me in a lot of ways. I think there's a lot of truth to that. So my best friend Johannes, I'm gonna use the Ren Fair example, goddammit. He fucking loves Ren Fairs, dude. He goes every year to Medieval Week on an island outside of Sweden called Gotland, which is like, it's like one of the biggest Ren Fairs. Like, this thing is huge. It's like, okay, so Europe is way bigger in Ren Fairs than America ever fucking been. Because guess what? We fucking had in medieval times and America didn't. You never had medieval times. Your country started after that. And so it's like very important to the culture here, these things. And they're like they're a big staple of European culture. And the Swedish one on the island of Gotland is like one of the biggest one in Europe. So as a result, it's one of the biggest ones in the world. And he goes to this every year with his friends. And it's about like the hanging out there. And it's really just a place he goes to meet his friends in an environment that they all find aesthetically pleasing. So if I were to do the whole, like, what I'm gonna dub Digibro reductionism, where I reduce something to its most core elements, the Ren Fair is a business set up by businessmen to create an aesthetic environment for a specifically mindseted person to spend a lot of money for the opportunity of spending time there with their friends in that environment because they have a predisposition reason to enjoy this thing. This means that there's nothing special about a rent fair, and you are like, I don't know, if you enjoy them, you enjoy them, but like, it's a trick, you know? So let's apply John Green to this. Let's apply, we make things important by caring about them. By the act of my friend Johannes caring about this thing so much and thinking that Medieval Week is like the coolest thing, that creates a personal narrative for him about this event and about this culture of people. That creates meaning for him. And even though that meaning has been like designed in this societal structure of business enterprises, doesn't mean that his version of the narrative isn't still unique to him and really important. And it's true that every fucking place is the same. And the stories of one place are not more important than the stories of another. But god damn it, some of them are more important to some people, right? Like, going behind the McDonald's was clearly very important to Digibois. Because behind the McDonald's was a place that he had not been before, and he thought it was cool. And he wanted to know the stories of that place. Well, the story of that place, as far as I can tell, is that one day, some dude named Conrad walked behind the McDonald's and realized a part of the city that he'd never seen before. That's the story of that place. That's the idea of it. That's the core identity of that place. Who gives a fuck if someone was murdered there 10 years earlier? That's not the narrative that's important to Digi about this thing. I think that by caring about the place behind the McDonald's, you've made that place special and you've made that place important. Similarly, all these other places are made important by being cared about. So see, I don't even disagree with Digi on a lot of this. I just think that he arrives at the wrong attitude. I think that where he sees everything as the same, I land at seeing everything as equally possible for someone to gain an interest from and gain value from. If it's a good thing, you know? Ain't fucking no one gonna gain attention from an SAO except for brain dead idiot. I wanted a meme in there. I don't fucking know. I didn't even fucking finish this show. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say, I guess. So you've been called out in return, even though I fucking mostly agree with you, you know? And I feel like that was the whole point of all of this, right? I don't feel like me and Digi really saw things that differently, or that we even did things for different reasons. We both just tried to look out for number one. And we did this by engaging two wildly different strategies. And both of them resulted in immense power for both of us. Digi's had a very successful life. So have I. I'm not making a lot of cash yet, and I don't have a girlfriend. But I made the best group of friends that I could ever imagine. Where I love all of them. Even though I hate them at times. And I made business moves. Like, I'm career successful. I'm still studying, but you know, I'm also working. And I'm doing something that I love, which is teaching. And I've invested myself in parts of the world that I care about. Like Digibois. Because he's important to me, because I care about him. That's why I'm making this video, because like his opinion matters to me, you know? And so we became different people. He became the doomer, and I became the bloomer. But we need each other, man. Like, the world needs both. And I think that Digi saying that he can't fucking stand bloomers. I'm gonna bring it back to Naruto, because Naruto haters can fuck off. Sasuke hates Naruto because Naruto refuses to let Sasuke be alone and refuses to not push his own opinion onto him. Just like I will push my fucking thoughts onto everyone. Yeah. And I guess Digi feels the same, because he can't fucking stand bloomers, people who like other people and want to push that agenda. Because I guess he feels like I was judging him. Like I felt like I was better than him for being the way I am, and I really don't. Because all it is that I have some qualities, such as great leadership ability, great, just I can carry myself in a situation really well. I can force myself into a argument whenever I want to, and I'm good didactically in a lot of situations. Like those are my skills, right? And Digi has a lot of other skills. He can be creative in a way that I never could. I'm not an artist. I don't fucking make things, except for like my art is creating classroom lectures, right? That's my art, and I try to make that as fun as possible. But that's all I do. That's the only creative process I have. And sometimes I edit shit posts on YouTube and post them on Ohio Nation's YouTube channel. Mostly about sumo wrestling. But like, I fucking value the shit out of Digi. I think he's one of the most interesting people in the world. One day I hope to fucking, I don't know, film him a bunch and make a documentary, I don't fucking know. When he's like 50 and I'm 44. I'll fucking, that's probably not even the right ages, whatever, I don't know the age gap. I'm born 96, he's born 91, 5 years. When he's 50 and I'm 45, I'll fucking make a movie about him, I don't know. I'm not creative. I'll get a person who is creative enough to make a movie, and I'll talk about Digi for a while, and he'll make the movie. I don't know. Maybe I'll be creative by then. Who knows? But that's gonna be it. That's the rant. I'm gonna upload this now. Maybe add some game footage to this to make it look like a fucking Digi may do, to make it really responsive. Or maybe I don't. Fuck it, I don't play games. I play games on the Switch. I can't record that shit. I don't have that kind of equipment. Bye!